I think the major threat to us is the threat by hurricane. The worst hit we've ever had was Hurricane Betsy.
My wife was here for Betsy. She thought she was going to die. I mean, it was a terrifying experience.
When we had, of course, the report from Nash Roberts that, was coming our way, I told my kids and my wife, I said, you must get the things that you would like to have and keep, because I want to put them in the attic.
Certainly we would glue ourselves to television and watch Nash Roberts.
Get his crayon out with his chalkboard and go through the analysis of where it's going to hit.
Betsy was an interesting storm in that the way it was set up, there was a high pressure system right over the southeast part of the U.S. and there was another high pressure system over Bermuda. And between these two high pressure systems was a trough, sort of a ditch between the two hills of pressure. And it looked very much like the storm was going to follow that weakness, that trough, that crack in between the two highs, and go on up the East Coast.
We had just finished the construction of our easternmost station, which is on the levee, and it discharges into the intercoastal waterway. However, we didn't have any fuel. We had fuel tanks in place, but they were below ground.
It made very little progress. It started slowing down, and I couldn't figure out why it was slowing down at first. And all of a sudden, it stopped, and it made a loop. Then I realized what was going on. The two highs had started a bridge across to block the trough. It was a solid high-pressure system from out and over the Atlantic to over Louisiana. It couldn't go north. The only thing it could do is come west. So I knew it was going to cross Florida and come into the Gulf.
I remember the day the storm hit, it was actually predicted to go into Galveston. The map on the front page of the newspaper showed this little dotted line. This is where it was going to go. And by, noontime, the wind was already beginning to pick up and really start howling.
The way the upper high pressure system was and the winds aloft were, they just came west till they got almost to the mouth of the Mississippi River, and then it ended.
When that hurricane hit, it reached a levee just east of the station, and water from the canal flowed into New Orleans.
It was horrible. It blew the roof off my house. We were without electricity, water, or anything for days.
It was my task to get the station running. When I got to the railroad tracks, all I could see was water. There was an aluminum skiff and an outboard motor. In good spirits, I said, well, I'm going to commandeer this in the name of the water board. Jumped in the boat, cranked it up, and went point to point. Got to the station, and the water was within a couple of feet of the station floor. The engines were idle, nobody there but me. I had a radio with me. So I called back, and I told them, I said, look, there's nothing to do here. And they said, well, just stay there anyhow. We'll get you some fuel. So within a couple of hours, up the intercoastal waterway comes an Army duck with some National Guardsmen, and they had 55-gallon drums of diesel fuel. I cut some hoses, stuck it in the drums, and started operating the pumps. And I pumped water for 3 days straight, and the water never went down but about a half inch. They had known that the levee had been breached, but just keep pumping anyhow because it's a good faith effort.
I do remember we did not have electricity in my neighborhood for 7 days. Power had been knocked out.
It was the people in the low-lying areas that really sustained damage. It hugely destroyed the coast.
It was, by the way, the first billion-dollar storm in North America.
I know after Betsy, just reading out-of-town newspapers, there were many cities reporting that New Orleans was no more. There was an obituary to New Orleans, I think it was on the front page of the Manchester Guardian,